Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
And we're back, and we're moving into our first conversation this morning where we get to hear a first-hand account of COVID experience from a well-known name and face in the country. Marion Ali is with us. Marion is one of our reporters here at Channel 5 and just recently returned to work yesterday, after battling COVID-19. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
How are you feeling?
I'm a little fatigued today. I have a headache. And I was a little winded earlier, but praise God, I am much better than I was the past 3 weeks.
Yeah. So Marion, before we talk about your COVID experience, can we just, let me ask about being open about sharing the story. What's the motivation behind it?
Two things. Trying to target the people who are still being irresponsible in my view. And I'm being very candid. Yeah. Because I went through the fight myself, I take it very personal now when I see people not wearing their masks properly, when I hear about people not abiding by the regulations and still socializing, still partying, still inviting over friends and people who don't live in their households so they can take a drink and celebrate and whatever. It's people like them that get people like me sick, because that's how you spread it. You socialize and you carry on and you pass it on, and you might not be the ones who will get symptomatic, but when you pass it on to someone like me, we are the ones who get sick. Yeah. And we have to be hospitalized, and sometimes we don't make it. So the motivation behind it is to appeal to those people to please, you have to be considerate. I think it's selfish when you do those things. When you break the law, you're actually breaking the law. Because the regulations are there to protect us. And two, it's to save the lives of your loved ones. Because usually you take it home to the people that you love, your family, your elderly. They are the ones who, or people like myself with pre-existing health conditions. I'm hypertensive, I'm obese, as you can see. That's something that I will also try to address as I recover my weight. Trying to lose some weight. But it's people in your family or people who are close to you that you most oftentimes get sick. So for those two reasons, I feel like I was compelled to come here.
Yeah. So what's interesting, Marion? I remember when you called to tell me the results, and I think in speaking with the rest of the news team and the rest of the staff here, I think we were all really surprised because you have been you knew you had a pre-existing condition. You're fully vaccinated and you have been extremely vigilant throughout, because we're frontline workers and you're out there in the field. Mm-hmm. Take me back to when you started to feel those feelings and you decided, let me just check.
First symptoms, you mean?
Yeah.
I remember the Friday. Everything was normal with me. Mm-hmm. And two of our colleagues gave me a lift, and it was after I had settled in for the night, maybe a couple hours after reaching home that Friday night. I started having a little shortness, a fever came on, a headache, and I felt a little bit weak. And I said, the regular flu is not, it's not spreading at this time of the year. And plus I have also got a flu shot, so it can't be just a regular flu. This has to be COVID. But how I caught it, I am still trying to figure out, because my situation, I'm reminded a lot by And he's my friend, Dr. Manzanero, and I really thank him for being there for me, along with all of you guys who walked with me virtually through my fight. But he was meticulous, and that was the adjective that he used to describe him wearing 2 masks and all. I don't leave home without my my
bottle's
sanitizer.
right over there.
Yes, and I wear my mask on all day. It doesn't matter how uncomfortable it becomes, except if I'm in a room by myself, then I would tend to pull it down a bit just to take a breath and put it back up. But when I'm in a room with you guys or anybody, you'll never see me pull down my mask. And I don't know, I used to abide by the 6 foot regulation. If further apart from you, the better. You know, and I used to tell myself, I have to assume everybody has the virus and could give me. So how I acquired it, I'm at a loss still. I'm
'cause
really
everyone tested
puzzled by
negative,
how I got it. And then thankfully nobody else here got it.
Yeah.
But the likelihood of me catching it from maybe somebody's hand maybe opening, the likelihood of it being
You'll
caught,
never know.
no, not here. It had to be outside of the building. You know, I'm just speaking in terms of likelihood.
Okay.
It had to be outside because nobody else here caught it. I was the only one, because I think you guys had
all
conducted
tested.
contact tracing and nobody else was detected. So those were my first symptoms of Friday night, and then I decided I have to go right away the following morning, the Saturday, and I messaged Dr. Melissa Musa, who is always in the news. So I messaged her and I told her, Doc, these are what I'm experiencing now. I think I have it. Can I please come in? And she said, oh yes, please come. You need to come in to the Central Health Region and we'll test you right away. And lo and behold, the rapid test was positive, so I didn't need a PCR because the first test was positive. And I wasn't shocked because I already knew, but I was concerned because I knew my health conditions. I knew, you know, that I'm not the healthiest person. And I actually knew that this is Delta that is spreading. So the fight won't be an easy one. But that fight I had to fight, and I conditioned my mind that I had to fight.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, and so she gave me some guidelines and some advice and told me to go home and to monitor myself. And if I have severe symptoms that I can't manage at home, then I need to go to the hospital. I went home and I started to take daily notes, just to see how my body was coping with dealing with the virus, because they say that your worst days are between days 5 and 10 or 12. And so from day 1 upon diagnosis, I started to take notes, and every day I was getting a little bit, things were getting a little bit more challenging for me.
Can you help us understand what it felt like? Because I think people at home all have that anxiety, and we don't know. We don't know what you feel when you have COVID, or when we know it's getting bad that we have to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
You feel, and it's a progressive illness. As the days progress, so does the illness or the disease. It attacks your system. You feel as if though the life is being sucked out of you. The shortness got really bad as the days progressed. The fatigue. I can recall the Sunday, because every Sunday and as often as I could, I get up and I play gospel music and hymns, and I was doing that this Sunday. And right after that, when I got up to go and shower, the pain that was striking me throughout my entire body, I couldn't cope with that. I had to take painkillers. Those didn't work. It's not the regular ache. You know, when you have a little flu, you might feel a little broken. No, it's like 10 times worse than that. And the shortness,
You said
just
it
to
hurt to
stand up and
breathe?
walk a few feet, you get so short of breath. Yeah, the shortness, you can, and that's because I'm at home, so I didn't have on my mask.
Yeah.
And the shortness, I couldn't cope with it.
And at that point, were you isolating? Did you have anybody to
Yes, of
ask?
course. Yeah, I have a roommate. And yeah, I was in my
So you
I
were
was in
doing
my space,
everything
right?
for yourself, even
And
though you had those
yes,
difficulties. Yeah.
so I was taking all the herbs that people
Yes.
prescribe, and I was drinking all the hot teas and eating all the hot soups, but I was not feeling well. I was feeling worse. And I recall Sister Bowman at KHMH, she was probably in here maybe the week before, saying how overwhelmed they were with work and with finding beds and trying to source resources to deal with their overwhelming numbers. So I told myself, I really don't want to go and add to Fidel load because they're already dealing with so much and so many patients. So I stayed at home and I prayed a lot, and I said, let me just try to take the herbs more. Maybe I need to double up on taking herbs more, or drinking double dose or whatever, drinking more hot stuff, but it wasn't getting any better. And I decided,
You were at
I
home for
think it
6
was,
days.
I think
the
it
Friday.
was, it was the following Friday. Right.
Yes.
It was day 6, you said. And because you've followed me closely. So on day 6, yes, when I got up to shower that morning, and again I'm reminded by Dr. Mansa's story because the same thing happened to me. I was starting to have like flashes of blackness. And I was so weak, so tired, and so out of breath, I could hardly stand up to shower. And I decided, no, this is the day I need to call on Sister Bowman and ask her, do you have space for me? Because I need your help. And so I did, and she responded and she said, yes, come in, I have a bed for you, I'll be waiting for you. And by the time I got there, she was waiting outside for me, and along with one of the attendants. I couldn't walk, so they had to come for me with a wheelchair, put me in a wheelchair, and roll me into the COVID ward, one of the wards, because I think they've expanded to have 3 wards
And you
now.
said that was an experience in itself. Being rolled into this ward that we've covered in the news so many times, and
Yeah.
seeing sick people.
So when I was rolled in there, I had to pass several patients, and while I was going through my own difficulty with trying to catch my breath, I happened to glance around, and I saw a lady, a very young lady, on a ventilator, and that went through me because we know the realities with people who go on ventilation. It's you don't often come off alive, and that the numbers speak for themselves. And I said to myself, gosh, she can't be more than 40 years old. She must have a family. And I was going through my own difficulties, but I was also thinking about her, and it put into perspective for me as they continued to roll me, and I looked around and I saw everybody was on oxygen, and then when I got to my bed and then I looked across, and there was another man on a ventilator, an older man. And I said, wow. So if I get worse, if they can't help me, I could be one of those people on a ventilator. And I could have actually been connected to one because the following day the doctor came after they ran all the tests and they did an exam on my lungs, and they found out that I actually had pneumonia. And the doctor came to me and said, Miss Ali, if you had waited one more day, we don't know if you could have It's like even now, it's iffy. We don't know because we will try. We will give you the medication, but I'll be frank with you. You have some people walk in, and they don't make it out alive. And I didn't walk in. I had to be rolled in a wheelchair. So, that was really a wake-up call for me. I could not, it's possible that I might not make it out from here.
What's it
alive.
like
That was, that was going to actually be my question, because, a lot of people focus on the physical symptoms of COVID, but the mental battle as well. So from that point of the hospital, and also to seeing all that's going on around you, can you describe what that was like while you were hospitalized?
The mental battle was something, look, that was as difficult as the physical one, because it's not easy to see people dying around you. And I did see people die right around me and placed in the bag and taken out. And it's like maybe playing a little game of Russian roulette. You look at all the beds and you wonder, which one are they? Will I be next, or will this bed be? So because the man across from me who was on the ventilator, he died, and the young lady who I told you, the first one I glanced at, she had died. And then 2 days before I was released, one man who they had just brought in, he also died before I left. So he was only there for maybe 24 hours and he passed. That was difficult, and you do get depressed.
When you talk about next to me, is it like this proximity?
It's like 6 feet. They keep they abide by the regulations, so the beds are like 6 feet apart.
So it's this distance.
At least 6 feet apart, right? Maybe a little further. This is it 6 feet?
Yeah.
Okay. So I got depressed, even with all the messages that you guys and everybody on Facebook and my previous boss. Thanks, Elizabeth. I appreciate it. I got depressed because I realized that I might not live. I might not make it out of here, So, but I never lost faith. I kept praying, playing gospel music on my phone, and watching documentaries, because I like documentaries. And so I tried to just keep myself relaxed and focused, and my mind at ease, doing things that I like to do, in those limited little, with the limitations that I had, just trying to use the internet just to relax my mind from what my body was going through.
Medically, you were being treated. We saw the remdesivir, you were on oxygen. You struggled with your blood sugar, and you don't have diabetes.
No. Luckily, my hypertension really was coping. I did not need medication for that. For the entire week, my pressure was good. So that was one thing that the doctors didn't have to worry about. What they were focusing on was, yes, my blood sugar level, and I was not previously diagnosed with diabetes, and I don't, up to now, don't feel that I am diabetic, because the first couple tests they took, it was maybe bordering 130, and I think that that may be borderline high, or just just below. But they kept giving me food that I believe took it down a bit, and the blood sugar level thereafter went down to maybe 80, 84. It remained around that region, so that wasn't really a concern either. Both the hypertension and the blood sugar level They cooperated. I think the obesity, though, Marlene, and I'm not ashamed. Everybody knows. And then also, I need to bring this up. People also know that I smoked cigarettes for several years. But because of COVID and because of me being conscious and trying my best not to catch it, but also preparing myself that if I catch it, I'd give myself and my lungs whatever chances to fight, to better fight. So I had actually quit smoking maybe 6 or 7 weeks prior to getting sick, in my attempt to, give my lungs that break. But the smoking, I want to say, man, if you smoke, you're not helping your situation. I used to laugh at, after I quit, I used to laugh when I see men pull long their masks to light a cigarette. That for me was the most ridiculous thing. No, I don't laugh at it because I think of those people. If you get sick, you're really not putting yourself in the best possible position to fight the disease, because the damage that it does to the disease itself does to your lungs, and then what you are doing by lighting a cigarette, you're just, you're making it worse. So the lifestyle changes are important. If you drink and smoke and you engage in all you're doing is damaging, or you're putting your immune system through a worse condition. You're actually
making it harder for your body to fight.
I'd like to say that you're actually damaging your immune system before you catch the disease.
I wanna just touch on that for a moment, and thank you for being so candid with us today. I know that one of the hardest things that we all had to accept was we're all fully vaccinated here, and you kept on saying, but I'm fully vaccinated when you were in the hospital, and that was really tough. I mean, even at one point you're like, well, was it worth it?
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah. I did. And yes, it was worth it. And the doctors, when I asked them, because I did ask them that question, I asked them, doctor, why am I here? I shouldn't have gotten this sick because I'm fully vaccinated. But then, of course, all the issues I explained earlier, obesity, hypertension, smoking and drinking doesn't help. You could be fully vaccinated, no mean that.
But if your body isn't healthy,
you need to take care of the vaccination will help you to fight, but make you invincible. You can't go out there and play Superman and Superwoman and be careless.
Yeah.
Because this is the way the disease will knock you off your feet and give you some humble pie if you eat.
And what was it? What was like the support that you received, like from the staff at KHMH? Like, what was that experience like?
The KHMH doctors, nurses, and caregivers never left our side. Never left our side. They are very supportive. And I'm talking about, aside from suiting up in their PPEs and coming in to give us our food and medication, they gave us support. And there was this one lady, Mrs. Helen Ciego. Thank you so much for coming in. And this is something that she does every single day when she's on shift. She's a I forgot she's not a nurse, I think, but I'll call her a caregiver.
An attendant?
She is one of the assistants to a nurse. So she comes in and if you need to be cleaned, she'll clean you up, and she'll come and but she gives us that support, that she comes in every day bright, and she wants to know, so how are you all doing today? Good morning, this is Mrs. Ciego. And you got this, right? You got this fight, right? Miss Ali, you got this fight, right? And she'll come and buck you, and she will build your spirit. And I think that's what helped us along as well, Yeah.
When you see, and you said it and then I thought of it, one of the things that we have seen is where people, I mean, they have to wear their PPEs when they go into
Yeah.
the units. So you don't get to see their faces.
Unless you know them. Well,
Yeah.
yes, you do see them because they have the shields
clear
on.
shield, yes.
And yeah, but
But it is still a strange interaction to see
it is,
somebody
well-
fully suited in this way.
yeah, that's strange. Of course, we have to understand that
Yeah,
they need to
yeah.
protect themselves. So the only thing you see really is their face, well, eyes basically, because they do have to protect themselves coming into the COVID ward.
Yeah.
And then
Marion, you said that one of the things for you was that as traumatic as it was seeing people die around you, you had to build the mental strength to say, I will do exercises, because you're required to do exercises, so you don't need more oxygen, so you don't end up on a ventilator. Tell us more about that.
yeah, but I need to go back to when they put the oxygen level at 5. The oxygen level goes up to 15 on the regular oxygen tank. But they put it on 5, and that's where they started me at. And even at 5, I was having difficulty breathing, and I had to pull down my mask. And I had to tell them, listen, this is not helping me. I need to breathe. I can't breathe. Why can't you take it up some more? And they told me, but we will not take it up because, yes, you have pneumonia, but your lungs have not collapsed, and you need to use the portion that is working. We need to keep that functioning, and you need to expand, bring back the rest of it. So the oxygen is just to support you, but you need to use your lungs to breathe. And so it was hard, especially having to go to the bathroom. Means you have to disconnect the mask, the oxygen mask, and walk to the bathroom. Well, in my case, because I wasn't so weak that I couldn't do it. And yes, they did offer me a catheter, but I'll tell you, one of my symptoms was diarrhea for 2 weeks. So a catheter, urinal bag would not have helped. I preferred to go to the bathroom. And those were regular trips. And every time I had to take off the oxygen, that was a challenge in itself because I couldn't breathe. But I told them, nurse or doctor, but it was more often a nurse, I'm going to the bathroom, I won't lock the door because if I fall down, please come and check on me, if I don't make it out, within a certain time. And they'll tell me, yes, sure. So they'd come and check or whatever. And they did come and check, Miss Ali, are you okay in there? Yes. But the going from the bed to the bathroom, and the bathroom wasn't very far. It was just outside and around the corner. And it took so much out of me that by the time I reached there, I was coughing, I was out of breath, trying to catch my breath, and focusing on really stop coughing and relaxing and trying to catch my breath. Every time that happened to me for several days. And I spent 8 or 9 days there.
Just to use the bathroom.
Just to use the bathroom, yes, that was a challenge. So, the simple things we take for granted, these are the things that COVID takes us or robs us of. You can't breathe. The air all around us, and we can't breathe because our lungs are not functioning or functioning well.
Yeah.
So eventually it became easier with the medication and the oxygen level. They started to reduce it, and I was actually telling them, you could take it down, because by now I don't want to go home.
Yeah.
I know that.
I don't want to go home.
Yeah.
So I told them, please, you can't take it down, carry that tree today or whatever. Even though I was having a little difficulty still, but.
So was it like, was there like a moment or so that you knew that things were starting to like maybe turn for the better?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. I forgot to say at the beginning that I lost the sense of smell, lost the sense of taste, and appetite and all of that. I did not have appetite at first. And yes, I ate, but the appetite wasn't there. That's the home part. In the hospital, they gave me something for my stomach, so I would have appetite. And so I started to eat, and they gave me food, and sometimes I asked for more. So Yeah, I realized maybe after day 4, when I started to feel, a little different. I'm noticing that I can make the bathroom trips a little easier. Yes, I'm still coughing, I'm still short of breath, but it's a little easier. I'm walking stronger. The fatigue doesn't come as often, or it doesn't remain so for so long. So I realized, hey, this is working, you know. Um, I might make it out of here alive after all.
The exercises you had to do, I think there's a picture of you doing
Yes.
it. That was an integral part of your recovery. But you
It
said
still
it's
is.
painful.
Yes, yes, to everything you said.
I can't remember the name of it. Spirulator, is that what it's called?
I think that's what you call
Something
it,
like
yes.
that, yeah.
But it is very painful, and I still have to. I don't know if you hear me, like when I talk for very long, and I've been talking, I get short of breath. I have to do this exercise. It's really just to suck in air, but it's harder than it's harder than it really looks, because when your lungs is not 100 or are not 100%, to expand it is what is painful, right? So sucking in the air as much as you can until it hurts, and then letting it go, and then sucking in again, and then it has a gauge. So the first attempt I made, the doctor said you could start off at 500. You could watch the gauge, and you could start at 500. And I'm sorry I didn't bring it to show you how it works, but maybe that's better. So I started off 500. Was the lowest level. Easy. That was easy. And he said, well, you could carry it up to 750. And I did that. Little challenging. You see, and then from there you carry it down 1,000, you try to go up. It goes all the way up to 4,000. And I'm still not even halfway with it yet on the gauge. But it will be a daily process, and it will be a long process to recovery. Dr. Mansa tells me that climbing a flight of stairs for him initially took like 5 minutes, and I thought, that sounds ridiculous, 5 minutes in a flight of stairs, until I had to climb the stairs to come up here.
I know.
And it didn't take me entire 5 minutes, but because I could rest along, because there are platforms where I can rest along. But it did take me a couple minutes, and then when I got to the top, I had to really just stand up and try to catch my breath.
Yeah.
So easy things, simple things that you take for granted: climbing stairs, maybe sweeping, walking a long distance, or walking briskly. You can't really do that.
What was it like when they told you they would release you from the hospital?
Well, I was asking from earlier on, before that, please let me go. No, I could do this, man. I got this. When they took me off the oxygen at maybe the 6, and then they held me for observation, But when they disconnected that oxygen, I felt good. I said, all right, it's just a matter of maybe a few hours. It wasn't a few hours, it was one day. They held me for another day. They held me hostage for another. I'm just joking, Sister Bowman. Thank you and your team. You're wonderful people. So I knew that it would only be a matter of time before I was released. And yes, I was released the Saturday evening. That was 1 week and 1 day after my admittance.
Yeah. What was it like? There's a picture of your bed with your name on it, and I want you to tell us the story behind
why
that.
I took that picture.
Yeah.
That was after I had seen people die, and I went to the bathroom, and I had my phone with me, and I said, you know what? I looked at my bed and I said, I make up my mind that I will walk out of this bed, because I remember what the doctor told me. Some people walk in and they don't leave alive. It all depends. I didn't walk in. I was rolled in. But I looked at my empty bed and I said, no, I will walk out of here. You won't bag me up and take me to the morgue. I will walk out of this bed. And I thought that, so this picture was for me a constant reminder. Every day I looked at it and I said, I have to walk out of this bed, you know. And yeah, again, I just want to say, Marlene, that all the messages that you guys sent to me, everybody here, you guys checked in with me every day. Thank you to you in particular, because even on the weekends you checked in. You are for me, man. You genuine, and you also offered help in whatever way, you know. So, and Carla, thank you, Carla. She offered me her office downstairs,
Yeah.
to work out of, because she knows I can't climb the stairs that often. To, you know, to whenever you get assignments and you have to run up and down the stairs, that I can't do that yet. So thank you, Carla. You're so kind. I appreciate it. Thank you to all my colleagues here. George, Chris, thank you, Chris. Chris, every day, Chris checks in with me. How you do today? Peeps, how you do? That's my
Yeah.
nickname. You know, you have to fight, right? That's the message.
Yeah.
Chris was, he said, but you know you have to fight, right? Yes. So, you know, and I appreciate it, man. Lisbeth and Reporter Press, my previous colleagues and boss, thank you so much. Thank you today, Carl
Facebook.
Hirschner team. Thank you, Dr. Musa, Dr. Mansa, everybody who checked in with me. I appreciate it. Yeah,
Ryan,
and my
how
family.
How important is it? And I think we've talked about this just briefly, but we said that as in conversations, I should say, that we are exposed as people who work in the media to a lot more information, and so we knew certain things. Like you knew you had to go to the hospital. You know that 5 to 10 period.
Yeah.
But you also knew from interviews you've done before that mental strength was going to be an important part of recovery.
Yes, I did. I think the information that I was privy to helped me a lot. All those interviews, and you know, when I heard Mrs. Ingrid Vega, and good morning, Mrs. Vega. Kudos to you for your fight and for surviving as well. You actually went a little further than me. You were on a ventilator and you survived. Oh gosh. So yeah, the information that I had by interviewing people like Mrs. Vega, Dr. Mansa, Dr. Cuellar, just before I went in, I had interviewed Dr. Cuellar. All these people who are COVID survivors helped me to have a better understanding of what it is that you go through. And you know, even though I appreciated the information that you all shared with me, you still don't really understand what it is like until you're in that position and you have to fight for your own self. Man, I tell you, that was a rough one. Everything that COVID does to your body, because it just breaks you down in every way. It breaks you down and it leaves you like, wow, I can't even describe it, Marlene.
You said this thing to me about you felt like your body was under attack. That
Yes.
things just kept on getting.
Like the life was being sucked out of me,
Yeah.
literally. And having to struggle for air. I mean, something that is all around me and I can't, my lungs is not, they're not working, so I can't breathe, I can't take in the air. And that's the worst feeling.
Yeah.
And the not knowing, because when you're at the 5, 6, and 7, and you don't know, you're not getting any better, because your body is telling you you're not getting better, you're actually getting worse as the days progress, and then you don't know if you'll make it out, because they give you a window, a period, right, where they say, well, between day 1 and 14 you should you monitor yourself, and I know I'm getting worse. So the not knowing is also, it gnaws at you, mentally, because you don't know if you make this, if you survive this.
You
And
said
I was going to say, and having come, having had that, gone through the battle and having come so close, now that you're in recovery, what have you learned from the experience, and what are some of the things that now you're looking forward to now that you're back in the real world? If you want to put it like that.
Well, what I've learned, not take things for granted. I bask in everything that maybe people still take for granted. I don't take for granted. Simple things. Maybe not a plate of food where I like. I not just want to say thanks, but I really want to sit down and enjoy the plate of food there, because you just don't know. COVID does so much to you, Gavin, that I tell you, I don't want to be mean, but I just want to say this: unless you've been there, if you experience it yourself, then you'll understand fully where I'm coming from, because I'm still struggling to breathe, I'm still struggling to breathe. So the things where we take for granted, even in recovery, I don't have, I still am struggling with. You can't take those things for granted. So I've learned that lesson.
Marianne, we thank you for sharing your story. There's so much more we can go into, but just what do you want your final message to be as we round off the conversation?
Again, just to repeat this, and I don't mind how it sounds. If you say, "Man, I'm tired, I hear that," maybe you need to be tired of hearing it, because again, the importance of stop socializing at this time, because you could make people that you love or care about very ill, or it could be worse, if they catch it. So ease off from the socializing, abide by the regulations, wear your mask properly, please, especially when you have to share space with people on a bus, a dollar van, a taxi. Wear your mask properly, no man. We shouldn't be selfish. We've gone 2020, and this far in 2021. We shouldn't still be so selfish that wear a mask under your nose or under your chin. No, because we already know that when you do that, you could get people who you care about sick. It might not have to be you, but we shouldn't be selfish and or breaking the law. And I want to appeal to the authorities as well. Please just try to enforce the law a bit more, because I think that's why people take advantage. I know they see the police wrong as much, and I know the police busy, but if you could just maybe have a little presence, more presence, especially in those areas where a lot of parties, people like socialize and so forth, have company over. Maybe just do a little, more patrols in those areas. The city buses too, people go on the buses, take down their masks, not care. And then they take down their masks and they start to talk.
And even the most careful people have to take public transportation.
Yes.
But Marianne, we thank you for sharing your story. It's something that we all need to hear. And so I think we're all happy to have you back. You're taking it easy a bit at a time, but I'm happy to have you back, and I know how eager you said you wanted to come back as well.
Yes, I wanted to come back. Thank you so much, Marlene. Thank you, Gavin. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Thanks.
And with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break, and we're keeping it on healthcare as we find out more about the Southern Well Care Dialysis Clinic that is opening in Southern Belize. Please.
This COVID update was brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.